This weekend at UFC 314, we get to find out if Diego Lopes is the real deal. For having been in the UFC less than 18 months, he has made quite a stir so far, this being his sixth fight in the promotion that is averaging a fight every 3 months or so. This man's not afraid of stepping in on short notice opportunities. I mean, starting with the obvious, he's been polarizing in every single fight with a Joe Dirt haircut and a fighting style that kind of resembles a rabid dog the second the fight starts. I mean, all of his fights have been really entertaining, including a short notice fight against Ivalov there. I mean, he fought someone great. That was his only loss inside the promotion. And it really turned people on to Diego. When you think about it, it was a short notice fight against someone who was meant to run over him. And it just didn't happen that way. He took Movsar to the limits. He had him in real trouble a few times. And he left the crowd kind of wondering if he could maybe take that on a full fight camp. And it's kind of grown to be a more important question since neither of them have gone on to lose since that fight and are now both looking at the title in the near future. So we could see a rematch really at any point. I mean, Diego and Volk have both said that with a win this weekend, they'd be happy to defend against him. But outside of Movsar, we've seen nothing but polarizing moments inside the octagon from Diego here, including nearly putting out Brian Ortega cold in the opening moments of their fight, and then gassing out a little bit versus Dan Ige during their big Mexico card fight last year. The man just doesn't put on boring fights, but I can see a world where he finds a way to win or lose pretty much anything. He seems to have a good chin on him, really good ground game, and some fight-ending power. That shot against Ortega in their fight nearly put him out cold, and even looks like he might have woken him up with a follow-up shot, going on to win that fight against someone who on paper is still at the top of the division. So, power like this and no fear of being on the ground, that could be the recipe to defeat Volk these days. I mean, a simpler combination of skills kind of led the defeat against Ilya Topuria, if you think about it. And I don't think there's a question here, and we shouldn't, Volk on his best days, prime Volk has shown more than what Diego has so far. But Volk's been knocked out in his last 2 fights, and that is exactly what Diego's looking to do. And where this is possibly the most dangerous things all considered. I mean, what's worse for Volk is if he runs into trouble on the feet, he's likely not going to have good luck on the ground. And that's kind of where things get interesting, because it's really an insult to Volk to call him a test for Diego Lopes. But I think even in a compromised spot, unless we have a weird situation where Volk has dominated every aspect of the fight so far, but just got clipped in the last minutes and loses due to a declining chin, I think no matter what, a win over Volk means everything in the world in terms of legitimizing Diego and everything he's capable of doing. So, again, this is big for him. What I do love is that both he and Volk have mentioned that they're willing to fight the number 1 contender with a victory this weekend, which means at the bare minimum, they're going to be a good champ, and that's becoming more rare these days. I don't really care who wins per se. As long as we have a fun fight, a good champion, it's good for the sport. I mean, they're both likable guys. They're both really good. It's just come down so far to, is Diego as good as we might think that he is? And the answer is maybe. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, he's got a couple losses on his record. Not too many in the UFC, just the one like we said earlier, but, he's gone on a 3-fight losing streak before. These aren't the best fights in the world here. But when you see this, and again, one of those isn't quite fair because that's a grappling fight, but that's not exactly what you'd expect to see against someone who has the potential to knock out the featherweight GOAT here this weekend. It's hard to say. Like I said, Diego is showing world killer moments, and then he's showing some moments where it's a little more amateurish at times, but he does seem to be getting better with each and every fight. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a better Diego Lopes this weekend than we've seen before. And is that enough to beat Volk? I don't know. But all we can say for sure is that in every area of his game, his ground game's phenomenal. In his striking, it's getting better, and he's got that knockout power. The cardio has been suspect at some times, but not in others. So again, there's context to all of these things. But with that said, Diego's polarizing for a reason, and with a really good win this weekend, we might see something insane here. We could see a star in the making. So, love to see it. I want to keep following it, and I want every bit of Diego Lopes win, lose, or draw. Now we've got some drama at the press conference with him and Yair Rodriguez, so you've got more potential fights coming on down the road, and regardless, we just want more Diego. Let's hope that he stays active and fights more, and whether or not him or Volkanovski wins this weekend, let's just hope for a good fight.